Don, the Auction Professor. Today, Santa Claus is coming to town. Yes, it is Santa Claus. I picked up some Santa Claus items, and I thought I would throw this out there. We've sold individual, like, cards of Santa from the Victorian era, and even from the 1920s and 30s, about this size, for $300, $400, $500 before many times. I sell cards for Santa Claus, or of Christmas-related cards, all the time for $125 or higher, all the time. Even this month we've done it. So I just wanted to go over some of what you should be looking for right this minute. As I've said a month or two ago, Halloween was hot, and items that you should be getting, you know, in the past, a month or two ago. Right now is a good time to start to buy your Christmas as well. I know we're not even up to Halloween yet, but the items are cheaper now at these garage sales and these sales. Just like Halloween items, Christmas is fast approaching. People are going to start to buy Christmas items 2 or 3 months out if they do specific things with those. A lot of crafters and artists and things like that buy vintage items or vintage Christmas or Christmas items in general. They'll buy vintage Mercury Christmas bulbs and Christmas lights and things. They'll be making wreaths. There's businesses on eBay that make hundreds of wreaths months in advance, and they use vintage items, or they'll put stuff together, and they start making these 3, 4, 5 months in advance. If you're not aware of that, do some searches on Christmas crafts and wreaths and handmade and homemade items for that. They sell on Etsy, they sell on eBay as well too. For you to make your key dollar amounts on these items, you have to start getting those up right this minute, as I've said. Fourth quarter is key for your business. Fourth quarter can be 75% of your business, but it depends on what you're selling. You need to look into the market. You need to see what's going on for Christmas. It's fast approaching. I mean, we're into August right now. You don't have a whole lot of time. I know it seems like it's months out to a lot of the folks that are new and don't understand the retail aspect of it, but people have bought Christmas items last year, before December even, for this coming up year. Most industries and toy stores and companies that buy Christmas-related items sometimes buy them 2 and 3 years in advance from trade show purchases. They'll get a discount. They'll get a break that way. It's cheaper for them. But they have to judge on what's going to be hot sometimes a year or two in advance. And I've said this before. That is why sometimes items flop at the store for Christmas, or sometimes why items are running out well before the Christmas season is in full swing, such as in the beginning of December. But we're going to go to the screen, and we're going to show you some items right now. I know it may seem like Christmas is coming a little soon if I'm talking about already, but this is the time when the prices are down on some of the higher dollar items. I can walk into stores and find things that are high priced and offer them less because of this time of year. And then for us, may not be something you can do, but I will hold on to some of these items that I buy at a discounted price, and then I'll sell them during Christmas time. Stores want to make money. If you're in an antique mall or antique store, they've got overhead, so they have to turn the product. Sales are slower in antique stores and antique malls for the most part during summer, because these folks, that are, antiquers and stuff, are usually out buying at, flea markets, garage sales, and church sales and things like that, because they're trying to make money. So a lot of the people aren't in the antique malls and such forth at this time of year. So overall, the sales are down, just like it is in a lot of areas. It just depends on what you sell, but for a mall, it's mostly just oddball stuff, so you can't go there just to get a specific type of item as a general rule. So anyway, I'm covering Christmas because this is prime time. I've gotten some really good Christmas items this month. Last week, I got a real nice die cut, very large, 12-inch tall die cut. Hanging on to that one till probably end of October to put that one up with a high price. If I put it up now, I'll probably get $150 or less for that same item. So just keep that in mind. Some items are really rare. If one hasn't shown up in a long time, a year or two, well, they might go any time of the year for top dollar. And this first item here is a perfect example of that. If you know toys at all, Hubley should be a name you know. If you don't know Hubley, type in Hubley and cast. That's all you need to type in and see what pops up. You'll see them in the toy section. There'll be some in the collectibles section as well. And this is an example why they show up in collectibles. This one sold for $4,850. This is one I have never seen. The only thing I've ever seen anywhere close to it is a similar one in a book, and that was years ago. So this is like one of the primo rarest Hubley items I've personally seen. I'm sure there's others. I don't specifically go looking for Hubley, high dollar ones, just because I know enough to buy Hubley almost any time I see it, depending on the make and year of the item and what the item looks like. You can kind of get a gist on the earlier ones by how they're done, how they're painted, the thin, statured characters instead of portly. That's a key factor, because back at one time, Santa wasn't as portly as he is now. Coca-Cola and some other companies helped change the character himself to be more jolly, because it was a better marketing tool to have Santa look happy and jolly holding merchandise than if he's thin and smoking a pipe like he did a lot, or holding switches, which are, sticks to punish the kids with. So anyway, that's one good way to tell. And there's not a lot of fake Hubblies out. This one's so rare, I don't know whether they'd find a real one to make a copy of it, even if they wanted to. I mean, it's just something that just doesn't show up, especially not damaged. Usually the rungs of the actual sleigh are broken, or a reindeer's missing a foot or an antler or something like that. But anyway, I've picked out some select items here. And again, some of these items you're going to run into occasionally. I'm going to point the ones out that you'll run into. I also pulled one up here to show you a key mistake that most people make when they sell these kind of items. They underestimate the value. And I see that all the time. So just FYI. We'll discuss it when we get to it, but let's move on and get some more items into this here. This is another good example. This is a large one. This is a 12-inch one. These don't show up super often, but you will see them. Just the donkey, I'll show you in just a minute, can go for $1,000. The Santa Clauses themselves show up fairly often, and it may not even originally been on this one. It may have been like a German kit thing that you bought this part, and then the store owner bought a separate Santa and put them together. That could very well be. Some of these could be considered candy containers too, because there'll be an opening on the side or something, and candy came in it for Christmas. Now you'll see these for Halloween characters like Krampus or something like that as well too. But this was $12.50. The donkey, as I said, $1,800. This one actually sold for around $1,100. So just FYI, $1,000 to $1,100. Can't get the exact price because it's in a range. It was an asking price of $1,850. So don't count that $1,850 as sale. But this is just the item itself. No Santa, no base. It's a nodder, and that's a person put shaking head, but it's a nodder is what it is, basically. Maybe they didn't know that's what it was. No big deal. It's still a nice item. I would have put a white background here because it's a little cluttered. It looks more like it's a photo or something, like a picture of a postcard or something, to me anyway. I would have put a white background, though. Let's see here. Another white background on this one, too. This was a good one. This one sold in July, so had they put this up towards the end of the year, it might have went for a little more. You run a little risk doing that. If somebody else has one like yours, or one goes up, similar to this while yours is up, it could hurt your price. So there's good and bad on listing Christmas items during summer. If you list them during summer, you're one of the few that's up, and you have a higher chance on selling because there's less items to look at in that category. I have one in here. I'll show you that's mine as well, too. I usually sell a Santa Claus every couple months that ends up in the top 100 of Santa Clauses on eBay in the collectibles category only. There's other categories that have them, coins and things like that, too. But Santa Clauses show up for us all the time. I just got a bunch of them, and as I said, and not just a few, but I've got dozens of new Santa Clauses, not new antiques, but new to me, that I just got. And I got them really cheap because it's this time of year, showing up at sales and auctions and things like that. The smart people are hopping on these, so I'm getting them whenever I see them, because if I don't, somebody else will, so anyway. Let's move on to the next one. This is just a display, 30-inch display. These could have been in stores or even for your home as well, too, but these are all pricey, $936. This one here, $11.49. Now this is the candy container I'm talking about. Now I've showed some small modern day ones that are similar to this, but again they're modern. Some of these, like the head, might come off. This one has moving arms. You can see the pin on the right hand side with this walking stick. Most of these are handmade, paper mache and things like that. The candy would have went in the back on this one here. They're made piece by piece. It's actually marked on the bottom, so this is a good one too as well. It's a pull toy on top of that. So you can't go wrong with something like this. These would have been very, very expensive in the day. This would have been a rich person who would have bought this. But anyway, another item here. Now, Rushton. Now, if you don't know Rushton, look it up, please. I recommend you, because they don't just make Santa Clauses. They make a ton, and I mean a ton of different characters. There's even like comic book characters I've seen occasionally. But they all sell very well. This one's different because it's actually pink. It's not bleached or sun bleached or anything like that. It was actually sold pink. And these came in all kinds of funky colors. You can see monkeys and animals and just you name it, you can find them in Rushton. Now I look for that. And once you've seen a couple dozen Rushtons, you always know what they look like because they're always similar styled in construction and design of the faces and even the color schemes that they had and how the bodies were, because usually these were like plush figures with like a plastic face and like a mohair for the hair, you know. And that's usually what I see on any of these. And this is 50s. This isn't super old, so this is something you can actually see at garage sales, even at flea markets and even at the thrift stores. I've pulled out Rushton many times, even out of a Savers bin, even out of Goodwill. Occasionally I'll run into one of these, not Santa per se, but Rushton in general. Most things that you see, you know, from, you know, pre-1960, one company, if they made something, they could have possibly made Santa Clauses as well. In many cases they do and did. Let's see here. Here's another nice paper mache. Now these are things I've made, modern day paper maches, and you know, with felt clothing. The clothing's easy once you've figured out the niches on them. But this is, you know, Bell's nickel. And now this is a specific styling term. You'll see it in a lot of stuff. You can just type in that and actually see a bunch of high dollar ones. This is what you're looking for on any of these. Now I find, this is the number one thing I find are sheep and animals that have that simple basic German stamping on the wood part. They'll be wood-legged with white fur over them or whatever color the animal is, and somewhere on there will be a little paper tag or it'll just be stamped into the wood, Germany, just as you see it. And those are actually from manger sets. And I pick those up quite often in bags. Even at Savers we found those as well. And even at Salvation Army and Goodwill, they'll be in bags and stuff, just thrown together with like modern junk. And the minute you see that German mark on them, you know it's a good one. Even if it's up into the 30s and 40s, you won't find much into the 40s because after that, you know, the war started. But 30s, I should say, would be more along the lines of what you'd find. 30s and down, any of those. And then after the World War II era, you'd see, you know, occupied or West Germany, and some of those still can be good, but these early style, look for this thin style Santa Claus. Those are usually the determining factors, and they're usually carrying trees and twigs and things like that too. But this one's $727. And again, most people wouldn't know that item I just showed you was old. They wouldn't think that much of it, especially if they're in really good condition. Now, one thing I can say about Christmas and Halloween items, I usually find them in really good condition because people cherished and passed those on for generations. So I'm lucky enough to find most of the good Halloween and Christmas items in real good condition. Here's another one. Again, I'm just going to show you some quick examples here. These tins, I buy any tin with Santa Claus on it, even if they're new up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, because I still get decent money for those. And you might get lucky. If it's a bank, it's usually worth a lot more. This is an early one, so England or not, you will find these over here in this country too. A lot of them were imported. This was probably a candy container originally, and then once the candy was gone, it was, you know, given as a Christmas gift, and then the kids could use it as a bank. That is typically the practice on most of these style of items. Here's another one. Now, Germany again. Most of these German marked items are what I look for. If I see Germany marked on it and it's $5 or $10, I'll pretty much always take a chance to say, I know enough what to look for. So, you know, if you're new to this, be a little careful. But this Germany logo, this label here, you will see almost identical on tons of stuff, even non-Santa Claus items. So, you know, you can kind of date these semi by that. I would probably date this one. He's a little fatter, a little more jolly, probably the 20s or so, maybe even 30s, but no newer than that, I would think, just by that label on the foot. And that same label you also see on china and glassware too, just FYI. Here's another tin. I'm not sure. Oh, toffee. Yeah, again, just like I said, these are like candy containers usually, and then they can be used for banks or just be, you know, held around. And people hold on to these, so that's why these still show up. And they may not know it's that old or that collectible. It's just a tin. Sometimes they'll be worn, you know, some of the finish will be gone, and you can swoop something up like this for, you know, $20 or something. Not in this nice a condition, but, you know, you might get lucky and get it for $20 at, you know, a thrift store or something, or a flea market. Most people don't know how to age tins, and I wish they would have showed the bottom so I could kind of show you, but unfortunately there is no bottom photo on this one. But they took US dollars, $363. And these tins I can pick up for $4 or $5 sometimes. You know, even if they're up in the 70s, I'll still spend that on a Santa Claus one, because I always sell that. This one here, I can see why they used a color background, just because the Santa Claus pin is white around the edges. So this one might be one of those rare exceptions. And usually if you do the front one as white, or as a blue background, you'd want to do the back one. So this one kind of makes sense. That's why I say, unless you have no other option, try to always use a white one. And this one's really iffy. I probably would have ended up using something else too. I might have used a green, but then I don't know. It's hard to say. But these pins. Now, I find these pins all the time. Not necessarily Santa Claus like this, but you will find Santa Claus pins if you go to enough, junk stores and flea markets and things like that. I would probably stay away from the antique malls for pins like this, unless they're dirt cheap and you can look that specific one up. That's the only reason I do it. And usually it would have to be in a big bin of some of these for me to even want to sort through them. People think the condition looks terrible. It may look rusted, but this is old. It's 1920s or before, in my opinion. And how to tell if these are old? The pin itself that you see right there, the pin running across this thing, if it sticks out past the button back, it is old. It's prior, like 1930. They changed the safety standard so people weren't getting hurt by being stabbed by one of these when they were put on. So at a certain point, the pin only comes back to the edge of the pin. And then at a later point, the pin actually has to be locked in place. Otherwise, you couldn't sell it. There's another safety thing that they had. So very good thing to have, obviously. But $301. I've got a couple pins in here I'll show you, because I do find pins, Santa Claus pins, and I buy them all the time. You can sometimes get them for a couple bucks or less. Now here's another one, rosin candy containers. Now I showed some rosin Santa Clauses myself that we actually got. These do show up. They're usually painted just on one side. You'll see them for Halloween. You'll see them for Easter. Even Thanksgiving, I've seen turkeys by rosin, and that's one of the names I look for on these. And they're not always marked either. This one's actually a whistle. You can tell by this hat up here. Now I've seen this one in person. It's a pretty loud whistle, honestly. No damage too. That's a key thing with some of these. Even if this had some cracks to it, they would have still probably got $100+ for it. Even if it had a little chunk missing, they still would have probably got $100 for it. Went for $300 in this condition. And it's just cheap plastic, 40s, 50s, 60s, even for some of the later ones. This is a good example of advertising. Now, anything advertising, this is a decent one. Now, it's hard to say on the age. Well, I guess I could guess by Mickey Mouse cookies. This is probably 60s. Oh, 47. Okay, 47. There you go, right there. Let's see how they told that. A lot of these were dated. They'll have like a funky number, and the last two digits are usually the dating numbering base on those. So not always, but usually they are. You could probably maybe even look up the Sugar Wafers box, because that is an early one. These Mickey Mouse cookies, Disney made some very similar, if not almost identical to this, back in the 80s or 90s. Maybe it was a rehash or something. That could very well be, or just a gimmicky thing from one of the gift shops. So anyway, it's hard to tell in some of these, but either way, $240, and they had two of them. Looks legit to me, so I don't think this is any kind of new knockoff either. Now, here's another one of those. This one would have been just like you saw on that donkey. Now, somebody who bought the donkey, chances are, might have bought this to go on it, and boom, they have the set. And again, skinny Santa Claus. Look at the legs. That's the key thing I look for in these, and that's the key way to tell if it's pre-World War II. Usually the fatter Santa Clauses were later on. They were marketing tools. Santa head's been twisted into a marketing tool for, decades upon decades, since the turn of the century, probably, honestly. Now here's the mistake one here, just to show you. This was set up as a buy it now. Somebody immediately, it's a new seller, nothing against the seller, because, they might have made $250 for all we know. But still, that blue Santa Claus you see is up there on the top left, and it went for the same price. Actually, I think it went for more, was it $300 or so, more than just this lot. So right here, the Santa Claus on the left with the stand, that's probably $200 or $300. That looks very early. Even the Schnell one on the bottom left that looks like it's made out of pipe cleaners, that's probably $40 or $50. The one next to that was probably $70 to $150. The taller one holding the twig, again, that might have been a $200 or $300. The far one in felt, again, that looks like an early one, that might have been $300 or $400. And the one up there on top of that, the same thing, couple $100. This person underpriced them extremely low. It's just a way low price to start this was off. I mean, somebody could have bought this, sold one of them, and then, made his money back, and then had all the rest for profit. Whoever bought this could have made $1,000 profit. This is the first and only time I've ever seen something like this, so don't expect that to happen anytime soon. These are the kind of items that I'll run into at an estate sale quite often. They usually have them up front, and they'll usually start off with a higher price on them, but if you quibble or you buy a bunch of them, like on the second day, if they don't sell, usually you can get them at a steal, usually the second day or so, depending on what their original price was, of course. Let's move on here. Santa Claus books, good item, 1886. There's a ton of different titles. As long as it says Santa Claus or has Santa Claus on the cover or has good illustrations, there he is in the brown coat, perfect example. So, and they listed a ton of photos, 27 photos for this one here. They knew it was a good book. It looks to be in good condition. I'm not looking at the spine to say for sure. It's a small book too. It's just a nice item. I love early Santa Claus books. I love the graphical like that one. Another pin, you can tell it's old because the pin sticks out past it. Department stores. Now, most of the department store items with Santa Claus, even from the 60s and below, I always sell. Always. Even like books and coloring books and things like that. If it says a department store's name and a city on it. That's the key there. They want it to be from a specific place. That makes them sell higher. This one, $229. This one isn't as dateable. It looks like it's a little newer, possibly. Maybe 1900, 1910. Well, actually, this is early. It's celluloid. So, yeah, this is an early one, I would say, then. Union. Probably 1890s would be my guess, then, on this one. Just by the back. Let's look at the next ones here. Now, if you're unfamiliar, they actually used to hang actual candles in Christmas trees. And hazardous or not, Christmas tree would dry up and you'd have a fire hazard in your house all the time. And we run into things that are like clips for candles. This would clip onto the Christmas, or the actual branch of the tree, and a candle could slide into here, and this would hold the candle into the Christmas tree. And this is really rare. I mean, they could have probably done better and made more money had they put them up separately, because I've seen these individually sell for this price. And they actually had two lots of these two. They were different lots. They weren't the same when relisted. They were listed at the same time. One had more paint than the other and such forth. So definitely different ones. But any of these clip-on Christmas tree candle holders sell for us. Any of them. Even just plain ones with like candy canes or something hanging off of them. Even the newer ones from the 30s will sell too. I don't think they did it much past the 30s because of safety issues. A light bulb. Now this doesn't even work from what if I remember right. $204. It's what's on it. It's Santa Claus. I'm not sure if there's some way to fix these, but I've heard that there's a gentleman who actually fixes these. No idea if that's true. I haven't looked into it too much. This is from the 50s. This might be a little earlier than that too. And some of these, it's no way to check them if you're just a normal person because you need the special size. I'm not sure if it's like a C3 or whatever the number is on the bulb, the threading here, but they are still out there available. You can go to an antique store and get a like a Mazda lamp or something like that Christmas set. So they do show up too. But there's a ton of different Santa Clauses as well. There's figural ones that are like the whole Santa Claus too that we've seen. Now this is along the lines of stuff that I find, and I found one almost identical to this, but he actually just had red on it. They don't sell as high as the oddball colored. He's got a blue hat on it. It's probably a purplish blue would be my opinion, or a velvet, and the blue is actually the reflection. I see the purple ones looking more like this. This one went for $181. I wished he would have put the size up top so it would be a little easier to see, but it's 6x10, so this is actually a smaller one. But it's a full head, so that's what the key part is in this one, and he's not wearing red. The Santa Clauses that are wearing something other than red are usually the better ones if they're early, so. Now this is a blow mold. This is a one-sided. It probably has a light bulb that clicks on the back. Yeah, this is similar to like an advertising sign. It had a spot to change the bulb and the whole works. Actually, there's probably two bulbs in here, honestly. And it's damaged. I don't know if you'd technically say this is a blow mold. This is molded, obviously, but I'm not sure if this would be blow molded. It looks like it almost could be like a early plastic, not the thick stuff like in the blow mold, but like a pressed version. Either way, it was $178. Something like this is an odd item. It might be a little earlier than they say. It's kind of hard to say. 1940s, 50s is pretty much spot on, I would guess, though. Let's see here. Postcards I talk about. Now this is an area you're going to see people missing. Even though they know it's Santa Claus and all, dealers sometimes, for whatever reason, don't think the foreign ones are worth as much as the U.S. And they can be, depending on the Santa Claus. And this is a perfect example. Usually if Santa Claus has apples and twigs, the twigs in his hand, or switches you can hear him called too, and apples, and I'm not sure what the apple is, maybe bobbing for apples, and it has some traditional meaning from the countries, but you'll see, U.S. versions of Santa Claus with apples, and those still sell very well too. The last one I got like 30 or 40 just because it was Santa and apples, and it was nothing fancy like this one, and he had a red coat on too, so this was $165. And if you check these out like I do, as you get closer to Christmas, you're going to see the prices steadily increase. and starting the end of October, the prices are really going to start to go up. In November, they'll be really high, and they do tend to go down towards Christmas, a little closer to Christmas for some items, only because people want them before Christmas, and if they can't get them delivered before Christmas, they're not going to sell for as high. They'll just buy them from somebody else who might have like speedy service or something. But again, an early one, it's the pin goes past the button. So, and just by looking at them, I'd say 1890s or up to like 1910ish. It's a nice early style Santa, actually, from a specific store to toy store. Another one, I don't like the background color, but that's what they're using. White would have been preferable, and if they would have zoomed in and just shown Santa Claus, that would have helped too. $150 on this one. I believe this was a buy it now, as was the other one. So, but their kids are really cute in this one. They've got little angel's wings on the back. I mean, this is a really adorable card for the most part. So anyway, let's see here. And these are low for some Santa Clauses. I've sold Santa Clauses cards way over that before. Now, this is the #1 Christmas Pez that I look for. There might be another one, if I believe, that's even rarer than this one, but this is the one that I've walked into twice in my life. Again, they're not huge price, $150. That may sound huge, but that's nothing on the Pez world, because some Pez's go for $1,000. So, anyway, but as I said, I have walked up on this one. I paid $50 for one once, and I bought it in like midsummer once before at a sale, and I held on to it till Christmas, and I got like $175 or $180 if I remember right. It's a few years ago, but this is the #1 I look for, and you will find this one at some point if you look enough for stuff. So, anyway. These mugs do go too. This is a Toby, this is a Dalton, and this is newer, as you see, 1987. Any of the Toby, Dalton, Royal Dalton, there's a couple other versions of Dalton you can find too, but any of these mugs sell very well. They're well done. This one may have sold for a little higher during Christmas. They included shipping, so they're going to be out $20 plus fees. I don't know what they paid for it, so who knows? It might have been a steal for them. It might have been a $2 cup for all we know. Because I do buy some of the Royal Dalton. People don't think they're worth a lot of money when they're this new, and you can get them at sales for like $5, $10, even sometimes cheaper than that. The age, that's the key factor there. Another Rushton. Now, I talk about these because you will see them. This one has Santa Claus in there. Now, this one's fairly common, but it still sells because of the Coke aspect of it. That's a plastic Coke bottle with a real metal lid on it as well, too. That's the key for some of these. If they don't have if the lid's actually one-piece plastic with the bottle, that's not the really early ones. Could even be a Fako, too. So, let's move on to the next one here. Now, I'm going to show you the back on this one first. This is a De La Rue. De La Rue made stuff from about 1870 all the way up into the 30s and 40s. You'll see playing card decks by them. They're always worth money. Anything that says De La Rue is worth investing $1 or $2 in, no matter what. Just my personal opinion, because I've never lost in a De La Rue. Usually if I buy one even for $1 or $2, I'm going to get 20 plus back out of it, usually. And I've sold De La Rues for well over this price. This one went for $144.78 US dollar. I've sold them over 200 before, depending on the image. They're fairly rare. I don't like the lace. I think they should have done something else. The color's a little washed. I'm not perfect, so again, I'm not going to criticize, but this one's just a real nice one. They should have zoomed in as the key photo just right there. You see how I got the two ladies covering up Santa? That's what I would have put for my main image. I would have put 3 images in that one up. That might have drawn a little more attention to it, in my opinion. And I might have waited for this one here to sell during Christmas, because this is pretty rare. You just don't see De La Rue cards at all. Advertising, a lot of military stuff, buy bonds, World War II era, 1941 government printing. Most government printed bond posters are worth like 30 to say 50 anyway. Santa Clauses, you add another 100 plus. And on another day of the week, this could have went for 200, 250. During Christmas, the same thing. So anyway, let's move on here. Now, this is one of mine. I had it up for $195. I listed this past Christmas. I could have left it up there, but the gentleman I sold it to is somebody who I've dealt with before, so I just wanted to keep his business coming in. So anyway, I took $136. That's just what I took for it too. So trade card again. This is a nice one, California. Now this one here, I would have not done as an auction. This would have been a $275 list price. And just see what happens. That's what I would have done. I bet you they would have gotten a decent price in return on it. This is pretty early. This is a very early item, and not knowing what it's worth is better for the people who are bidding on it, or for you anyway as the seller. California items with Santa Claus, especially like this, are extremely rare from this era. I mean, it's very specific. It's a very, nice, interesting item. He's got brown pants and a red coat. Literally, $275 is what I would have put on this. And nobody knows what it's worth, so somebody's going to throw out some prices out there thinking it's worth a ton of money because your asking price is $275. They think you have more knowledge than they do. You're just throwing a price out there. There's nothing wrong with that. Throw it out high, you can always take low, you know? If you throw it out low, it sells, you know, you're out the door. So I always try to put it higher than I think it would sell in the first place. That gives you some working room, too, as well. Now, these I run into all the time. There's two versions of these. There's old ones and there's new ones. Some of them have lenticular on them. I do not mess too much with the lenticular ones, but this is, say, 50s. They've got 50s. That's probably pretty much dead on, I would say. The winking ones you want are the ones that are like realistic, not a lenticular one. The lenticular ones will sell, but just not very high, and they may take a little while to sell. Pretty much Christmas is the only time I really get good money on the lenticular winking eye ones. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up lenticular or winking eye Santa, and you'll see. And again, as I said, if you're not willing to at least take a minute and look up some of these, open another window while you're watching this video or something and pop some of these in here. That's what I would recommend. When I watch some other people's videos, I usually look up stuff either on my other laptop. I usually have a couple screens next to each other when I do almost anything on eBay, in all honesty. So I'll have two laptops next to each other, or I'll be looking on my server with a laptop next to it or something along that line. But I usually have at least two screens and two PCs open when I'm doing anything on eBay, as I said. Now, Hupper's Weekly, this is a very specific one. Nast's has a lot of different designs that he did. 1871, they're early usually. I've actually recreated some of his artwork, so, you know, it's a good subject matter. It's a well-known. This is one of my favorite engravings from this era. Now, I wished I had a real nice one of these because I probably would put one of these on the wall. I just love the... It's almost Tim Burton-esque in my opinion, and this is like the kind of artwork style that I would do. The evil Jack in the Box. He's not technically evil. This is just the dreams of the girl having of Christmas. And you can see another like a Punch and Judy, and then there's a bunny. And bunnies were used in Christmas too during this time. So that's another thing you might want to look into is some of the earlier images of Christmas because they don't resemble a lot of what you might think is modern. And I've seen people walk in front of me at a sale right by something that was Santa Claus from 1870s or 80s on a magazine cover. They didn't know it was Santa Claus. It looked creepy and weird to them. I even listened to them talk about it. So anyway, let's move on. Here's another one. This one here is a foreign one. This one's pretty interesting. It almost looks like an airbrush, possibly, or maybe fabric. But anyway, $119, Norwegian. It's an oddball mix of characters there, so that one went very well. Here's a nice calendar. Strawbridge. Now, I've heard of this company, too. I find these kind of items locally here, too. And this is a trade card. Is it officially a trade card? Yeah, it's a trade card of Ohio. The Philippines is not to be drawn to this scale. This is probably maybe Spanish-American War era, which would make sense why the Philippines and all were there. But anyway, let's move on. 114 on that one. And these are just typical die cuts. Now, any of these type of die cuts, you know, look at a few of them. You can tell by the back. This is literally what they look like. They're very fragile, so if you get some of these, you're going to have to be very careful. I usually recommend selling these right away if you have them around. Even some of the time I have these items around, I usually check them out on some of these fancier and well-detailed and, you know, well die-cut ones like this, because this has very fine details of branches and twigs, and those can break real easily. So I always check them out before I take an offer on them too, just to make sure they're still safe. I've got special ways I take care of these too when I'm storing these prior to a sale too. So just an FYI. But 109 on those, and that's just 3 of them. I might have done that as a bin on those as well, and maybe put 175 and saw what happens on them. But anyway, and just the last item here. This is just a pipe. You will find them. I've seen white clay pipes and briar and you know, the carved ones, the whole works, you know, bone and the whole works on Santa. Santa Claus stuff you can find on pretty much anything. It's a marketing ploy even at some point. So everybody threw it out during, you know, Christmas time on anything, shoes and clothing and glasses and figures, even gas stations and railroads and TV. Anywhere you could have possibly advertised anything, they threw Santa Claus into it. So there's a ton out there, and now is honestly the best time to start buying it. If you're new to selling, just be on the lookout for it. It's a good bolo for you all day long. just look up what you got. You got to do research on it. Don't just buy it because it's Santa Claus, because not everything is worth money. But once you know how to tell the vintage pieces and the oddball pieces, you're going to be good as gold on Santa Claus. Santa Claus for us sells all the time. You know, it doesn't matter what time of year. You will, as I said, get more money during certain times of the year. And certain times of the year, if it gets too close to Christmas, you can't get it to them during the season, it may not sell as high too. It just depends. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Well, there you go. Those are some key Santa Claus related items that you need to be looking for. They will give you a high return on your investment almost every time. So that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that's an eye-opener on Christmas. If nothing else, you at least got to see some cool Santa Claus items. So again, Don the Auction Professor, please hit the like button down below if you enjoyed the video. You can also hit the bell icon up top to be notified when we go live or post new videos. Subscribe and tell a friend.